Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Donna Feazell, and I'm your host of The Edge on IC Radio, your source for news and entertainment. You can also find us on television two different ways, right here in North Alabama, channel 182 on Charter Communications and Abundant Television syndicated, found on Roku, Apple TV, and Amazon Fire. And don't forget the podcast, netnewsnetwork.net. And we've been invited to join another podcast, and they'll be coming up pretty soon as well. I have my friend Alan Mendenhall with me right now, and Alan is my go-to source on finances and other things that are happening in this world. Just a brief biography. I'll let you go and tell folks what you do now, Alan.
Well, I am Associate Dean of the Sorrell College of Business at Troy University. I'm actually sitting in my office on the Troy campus right now as we speak. I've got an office on the Montgomery campus as well. And I'm Executive Director of the Manuel H. Johnson Center for Political Economy, which is an educational and research institute within the Sorrell College of Business at Troy University.
Absolutely. But I've got to ask you a question. Alan, do you guys have security there?
We do.
If I were to try to come in and bring a white substance, would I get kind of caught up with?
You would probably get caught.
We have a security system here too. And of course, Phil set it up. It is one of our sponsors, Simply Safe, and they're absolutely awesome folks. But I'll have to tell you, I could be in your neck of the woods. Somebody could come on my front door. I would actually be able to talk with them and say, "Hey, thug, get lost." I would be able to do that in my little simple security setup. I just have to ask this really simple question. Maybe Phil should go to the White House and install Simply Safe.
I tell you what, it's a strange thing. You hear all the time that the White House is the most secure facility in the entire world. It has the most surveillance. There's not a nook or cranny that is not observed by camera. And yet we allegedly cannot find who brought cocaine into that building. And I find that to be impossible to believe. I think that they know who did it, and they're just not saying. I mean, the less they say, the more the speculation about Hunter Biden comes up. I mean, if they would go out and address it and say who it was and call out the person, then there wouldn't be all this speculation. But the fact that they aren't doing it makes people think even more that it had to have been Hunter Biden or some close tie to Hunter Biden.
Yeah, anybody who has any logic in their mind at all would think that. So let's reverse this. Let's pretend this is when President Trump was president. How do you think the news media would be handling that right now?
I don't think there can be any doubt that this would still be front page news. There'd probably be impeachment hearings by now. Really, there would be. I mean, it would be hysteria. But, it'd be one thing if this was kind of a one-off, but it is a little bit of a pattern. Consider the Supreme Court data breach when the Dobbs opinion was leaked to Politico. And you mean to tell me you cannot figure out who leaked the Dobbs opinion? That investigation was closed with no names surfacing. That to me is sketchy. Surely, in this day and age, given the technological capabilities we have, the person who did both that leak or who brought cocaine into the White House, we could find that out. I mean, and what message on the cocaine to the White House? And what message does that send to our enemies out there that, the White House is so insecure that you could bring just about anything in there and get away with it. If the White House does not address who did this, then those types of rumors and narratives will start circulating.
Well, my point is this is where the president of the United States lives, for the most part. And wouldn't you care a little bit more about his security?
Yeah, you would think so. I mean, the only reason not to care is if it was somebody close to him who did it. And, people want peace of mind knowing that the White House is a safe and secure place. And when that message is not being sent, it raises troubling questions, both about the security of the White House or alternatively about the administration's transparency.
Hmm. Well, I like to. I believe it is a secure place. We both know. I think the whole United States knows what it is because it is a good secure place. They're just covering up for somebody. I'd like to talk to you about the security of children. There is a television show comes on HGTV. They're still showing reruns of it, and it's called Hometown. And I love the show. It's a good Christian atmosphere. It's a small town in Mississippi, and what they're doing is they're going in on the shows and they're finding homes that need to be repaired, and they're just doing a phenomenal job. They're contractors, and they're doing a phenomenal job of just turning and bringing back the history in houses. So this couple has decided not to film any more of the shows. They want to spend time with their family. They have two little girls. And so they want the little girls to grow up in a nice, safe area, and so that's the number one thing. However, they have started a non-profit foundation. And this is to educate parents on cell phones with their kids. Kids are more depressed than ever. Suicide rate is up with kids. It's probably a combination of things. Could be, COVID hit in 2020. Could be that. But it's an epidemic now with kids committing suicide, being taken from their households, meeting up with people who are not who they say they are. You got kids. What can you do to, first of all, I would say no cell phone. Or if you're a kid, you're a teenager and you're out only, and this is what they're recommending, parents only have access, the kids only have access to the cell phone, the talking part of it, or text. What do you say as a parent?
Yeah, I mean, I first of all want to point out that I'm not always as good at what my own advice. I don't always practice what I preach. There are times I'm like, here, take this phone for 10 minutes and like give it space. But I think studies show that cell phone usage, it's in particular the video watching, the TikTok, it results in learning impairment. I mean, the learning loss that has been traced to the pandemic, which you mentioned, is irrefutable. We have seen a massive drop in test scores for the students who had that basically year of life taken away, a year of schooling taken away from them. I think the schools that stayed open have done a better job at keeping the students engaged and keeping the students at levels where they're supposed to be. And we really did a massive disservice to the young people who were not really at risk from the virus at all by closing the schools. And when it comes to the cell phone usage, I guess one thing I think that is particularly problematic with the sort of rapid fire, the quick videos, is that attention spans tend to be shrinking. And I've found over the years as an educator, someone who has taught in a law school, who's taught in business school, I've taught undergraduates, I've taught graduate students, but I've also taught young students, is that over the years, students are less and less able to sit down and read assignments. And it used to be that I assigned several novels in a class. And sure, there were some students that didn't do all the readings, but most students did the readings. Over the years, the longer I've taught, the shorter the assignments have had to get if I want students to actually do them. And it's to the point now where you assign a 3 or 4 page essay and some of the students can't even do it.
Oh my goodness.
It is shocking, but the attention span seems to have gotten so short that they communicate in those 140 character tweet sound bites, and they're incapable of maintaining, whatever period of concentration is necessary to read a novel or to read a book. And they are just not patient enough, and they get distracted. They want to read a few pages, but then they want to go get on social media. Then they want to read a few pages, then they want to talk to their friends. But they're really incapable of sort of sitting down in a quiet room with a book and going from page 1 to page whatever to finish it. And that's troubling. And, I say this about young people. It's not just true of young people. Even me, I have the same troubles too. I find myself getting distracted way more easily than I used to. Or if I'm sitting here reading, I find myself drawn to my laptop over here. I want to go check my email. And then I go back to my reading. And this is not really good for deep learning, for immersive reading. To really retain and absorb that information, you need solitude and you need concentration. And we live in an age of distraction and noise. And I think that's problematic. That's why people like you are moving out to farms where you can focus.
You betcha. And by the way, I'm asked almost every day, are those real books behind me? Yes. And I actually have more. I am a reading freak. And I love your books. Let's go ahead and throw your name out there. By the way, everybody knows Alan is an author and a speaker as well. And so let's talk about your website real quick and then how folks can find your books.
Yeah, my website is just alanmendenhall.com. I guess my name is displayed right there somewhere. So you can type that in. It's all one word, alanmendenhall.com. And books are available there. I have 2 coming out this year. One is a primer on ESG, environmental, social, and governance movement, and that one is co-authored with a guy named Scott Shepard.
I can't wait to get my hands on that one.
It will be great. It's a short primer, and it's co-authored with a guy, Scott Shepard from the National Center for Public Policy Research in DC, and it's designed as an introduction for business people, and it has a concluding chapter about what can you do as a business person to push back against this ESG. So I'm excited about that one. It will be published by the American Institute for Economic Research in Great Barrington, Massachusetts. And then I have my first novel, hopefully not the only one, but it will be my first for sure, coming out in November is the publication date, but I suspect you'll be able to get it in your hands by October if you were to pre-order it. And that is called A Glooming Peace This Morning. That's a phrase from Romeo and Juliet. And it is it's a Southern Gothic novel that takes place in a small town, and it's a little on the dark side. So just a warning.
I can't wait to get my hands on that one as well. So let's talk a little bit about books, and I have this maybe the tinfoil hat thing going on. I don't know, but I like a book. Okay, so I have it and I'm turning the pages, and my books are just awful. I've written in them, they're turned down pages, what have you, and I've probably ruined the value of some of them. But and I'll turn down. So there's just something about getting into a quiet place, a place of solitude. And I even get into the greenhouse in the wintertime. So I go to my greenhouse outside and read.
Oh, neat.
It's a place, it's my place, it's my space. But I feel like it gives me some time. And I get a little solitude and I'm reading. Is that a good thing or is that a bad thing? Do you need a place of solitude?
Oh, I think so. I think that's a great thing. And what used to be places of solitude for me are less places of solitude. I go to university libraries, and they used to be sort of a place where you could unplug and check out and immerse yourself in text. But now they're increasingly social hubs on campus, and they're the place where you go to Starbucks or they've got little fast food places inside the library, and books are being sort of taken off the shelves and they're being replaced with other things like that. And what essentially happens is the library just becomes a giant study hall where students can socialize, and sure, they do study some there, but the primary purpose is not research. It's not checking out books. It's not producing knowledge and disseminating information, but it's socializing. And I don't want to be like an old fuddy-duddy or something, but I find this to be
join my club.
Right. I know. I think this is problematic, especially in this culture where when you get online and everybody seems to be a know-it-all, people are on their Facebook walls arguing about politics or this and that, and everybody seems to have the answer and to be 100% certain that they're right, but yet people are spending less and less time in the libraries to really verify what they think they know.
But another thought I have is, and I like the Kindle. I'm not such a fuddy-duddy where I won't read something on the internet. I'm okay with the Kindle book. My thought about that is I have this book, Okay, let's say I have Gone with the Wind, and I've got it back here. So I have Gone with the Wind where nothing has changed in it. Okay, you cannot change the print in my book. But if I have that on the internet somewhere in an archive, I could change something. Or let's say the Bible, the Holy Bible, I could change the meaning and I could tweak something if I wanted to. Are we on dangerous ground there?
Well, yeah, I guess a couple things. First of all, with the sort of physicality, the tangibility of the text, there's something to that that is significant, I think. But I can't scientifically demonstrate what it is. But I can say anecdotally, for me, it is a different experience to hold the book, to flip the pages, to have my pen ready so that I can write in the margins, take notes, fold a page, mark up a page.
A highlighter.
Exactly. And I in my personal library at home, I generally have everything organized by genre, and I'm able to go and pull a book if I need it. If I have something where I think, oh, I remember this passage from whatever it is, and I need to go pull it out. I'll go pull it out. Let's say it's an Oliver Wendell Holmes Jr. biography. Oh, that sounds like the Mark DeWolf Howe one. I need to go grab it, and I'll grab it, and I'll flip through, and I'll figure out where I marked whatever it was, and then I'm like, oh, yes, that's great, and I'll put it back. Yes, the internet, it makes searching a lot easier. Is there something lost in the process? Perhaps, yeah. I mean, with the sort of durability or permanence or longevity of text, I think you raise a good point. I sometimes wonder. It used to be, people would donate their papers to libraries. I'm going to donate my letters and donate my notes and all these things. Well, what do you do today where that's not even going to be possible? I mean, what do you donate your laptop and have them go in and extract all data from your hard drive?
Here's my thumb drive.
Yeah, well, and it raises questions. I mean, it would be interesting for someone to do that, but you might find out a lot more about the person than you would really want to know by doing those kinds of things. I try not to be sort of so pessimistic that I'm, I sound unrealistic and I would sound ridiculous in the future, like they've got all this technology anxiety or something like that, because I don't. I generally think that we tend to, as humans, adapt to these new technologies. But I think we're in a period in which so much of this technology, this information technology, is revolutionized basically human organization and institutions that we're not yet used to it. And we forget, like when Gutenberg invented the printing press, there was a lot of anxiety over that. People were like, oh, we can't let the masses read books. We can't translate the Bible into the common tongue. We can't do this. We can't do that. And people were in hysterics about these kinds of things. So, eventually humans adapted, and we got to a point where we found that, oh, reading is good. Everybody should have a book. Now we want everybody to have a book. It's a good thing. So it's possible that we're in one of those moments where we just haven't fully adjusted to the technology. Eventually we will. We'll find ways to replicate the sort of book reading experience that we were just discussing in some sort of digital way, and we'll get things under control, and it won't be a big deal. So I don't know. I don't have a crystal ball. I don't predict the future or anything like that. I just know that in our current moment where you and I sit today, I prefer a nice hardback book that I can hold, that I can touch, that I can handle, that I can smell, and that I can write in. And that is a better experience for me as a learner.
I think so too. And I think there's something to the research that has been done on people who are reading basically on a computer screen or their cell phone or whatever. It's ruining their eyes. I know my parents were all over me. I was the geek, still am, the geek, unpopular one at school. My brother and sister were very, very popular in school. I was actually quietest in Who's Who. Nobody knows who I am now to this day. Like, you're who? I've come to my hometown again and they're like, you were who? That's how shy I was. But I would actually read books. I would go to bed, put the sheet over me, and actually get a flashlight and read books.
Oh, I love
That's
it.
how I was into it. And my parents were all over me. They would say, "You're going to go blind doing that. you're going to lose your eyesight. You need to have good light. But there's something about the glare of the cell phone. You can't even read it if you're out in the sun.
Well, I was going to say, even staring into the screen, I'm looking at my laptop. I have screens over here too, but I can feel the screen. Like there's something like I can feel, I don't know what it is, if there's some kind of waves going through, but like I can feel the effects of staring into a screen. Whereas if I'm, looking at this piece of paper, I don't feel anything. Like I can't tell you scientifically what that is, but there's a difference between looking at this and concentrating on this and looking at this screen and staring at the light, or staring at.
I'm having to focus more looking at the screen, whereas I don't have to focus that much, and I have contacts in my eyes because I only need them for reading. My parents were right; it did ruin my eyes.
Yeah,
that was correct. It was, but I'm having to focus more looking at the screen. I'm looking at my laptop right now, whereas I get a book, I'm not having to do that same focus.
Yeah, and I get tired if I read on the screen for a long time, or I work when I put in several hours working. I get a little more tired than I do when I'm just reading a book. For some reason, like I'll bring a book on an airplane, and then I'm not distracted because it's just me on a plane, and I will just tear through that thing, and I don't get tired. My mind doesn't get mentally exhausted the way it does if I'm sitting here typing, working on a screen, responding to emails. That wears me out.
It does me too. I can read faster. I can get through a thick book a lot faster than I can reading it on a Kindle. I can't. It's just a whole lot quicker for me. But my point about that is there a center where all of the knowledge is being stored right now on the internet, a hub somewhere where I could change the Bible? Let's say I'm a czar and I want it to where people can actually kill. So I take the 10 Commandments. I say, I tweak it a little bit. Instead of just thou shalt not kill, I could put thou shalt not kill unless it's doing something to the environment. Yeah. I mean, can that be done? I mean, they're wanting to change Gone with the Wind, which is one of my favorite books, by the way.
Oh yeah, all the different sort of Bowdlerization of text where people are going in and hiring sensitivity readers to sanitize the text and make them less offensive. That's problematic. That really plays with history itself and doesn't enable you to get the full context that you need to understand the author, the book, and its times. I mean, for example, you'll see sanitized versions of Huck Finn that remove offensive language. Well, I understand why people would do that, and I would understand why a teacher would say, let's not use this word in this classroom as we discuss this text. However, I think it's historically significant that certain words were used by the author and in the text, and that they reveal something about the culture of the period. And, depriving readers and students of the opportunity to learn about reality, to learn about actual circumstances and actual words and actual things that happened in the past, is not going to make us smarter. It's not going to make us more intelligent. It's not going to make us know more about the past. If anything, it's erasing important pieces of the past, and ironically, pieces of the past that the people would actually are trying to highlight. If you're trying to show a history, for example, of racism by deleting the N-word from Huck Finn, for example, you're actually depriving people of an opportunity to learn about something that was racist of the time, and you're making it go away. And
we learn from history. I mean, that's why I'm such a history buff. I mean, I'm not the smartest person on earth, but I'll tell you what I cannot do. And that's just based on from what I've read in history books. Do not do this because it didn't work in that generation. We've got to go into a commercial break. We're going to be right back in just a minute.
You have been at this for 12 years. Why are you doing it? Because God's children are not for sale.
Rated PG-13.
At Lamone's Mexican Restaurant, located in Henniger, Alabama, and voted Best Mexican Restaurant of DeKalb County, Alabama 2020, we're here to serve you with authentic Mexican cuisine. Order easily online by going to lamonsmex.com or call 256-657-3999 to place your order. We're open Sunday through Thursday 11 a.m. to 9 p.m. and Friday and Saturday 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. Whether you're celebrating a cozy date night for two or a celebration for a crowd, at Lamone's you'll love our atmosphere and friendly servers. Thank you for dining with Lamone's Mexican Restaurant. Let Rhonda at Rhonda's Elite Tax LLC take the burden off you for all your tax needs. I know because Rhonda has been taking care of my business since 2013. I feel Rhonda works for me because she knows the direct questions to ask to better benefit my unique business in order for me to get back the biggest refund possible. Rhonda is an ongoing student, and she knows tax laws are in a constant change every year. Call 256-281-9903 for an appointment to take the dread out of getting your taxes done. Rhonda is located at 11968 U.S. Highway 431 in Boaz. Again, that number is 256-281-9903. And let Rhonda's Elite Tax LLC champion your personal and business taxes. At Liberty Bank, we're all about community, whether it's to help with a charity fundraiser or help families in need. Toys at Christmas or a local football team, we're here for you. You see, we realize the importance of family. Sometimes it's to build a new home or necessary home repairs. We're here for you. If you like the feel of a small town bank with all the conveniences of a big city bank, we're here to serve you. You will find us at any of our convenient locations in DeKalb, Marshall, Etowah, and Blount counties in North Alabama. You can call and speak with any of our friendly staff at 256-659-2175 or check us out on the web at libertybankal.com. And thank you for your support of our community. Member FDIC Equal Housing Lender. Jeff McCurdy of the McCurdy Law Firm has been a public service of this area for over 10 years. McCurdy, a member of the Henniger City Council, serves as prosecutor for the town of Sylvania and was named public defender for the city of Rainsville. The McCurdy Law Firm is located at 17326 Alabama Highway 75 in Henniger to better represent his Jackson and DeKalb County clients. If you need to be represented by a true public servant with proven success, call Jeff at 256-996-8701 or send a private email to mccurdylawfirm@gmail.com. No representation is made that the legal services performed is greater than the legal services performed by other lawyers. The Hatter Cafe and Country Inn is nestled in the northeast corner of Alabama the Beautiful in the delightful town of Mentone. We're located on top of scenic Lookout Mountain near Little River and DeSoto State Park and located only 5 minutes from shopping and restaurants. There is also a nearby community walking path and golf course. We welcome everyone through the doors and we are committed to outstanding service for all guests. At the Hatter Cafe and Country Inn, we invite people from all walks of life to come and get away from it all, enjoy the open spaces, treetop views, fresh, clean air, and experience Southern hospitality at its finest. We look forward to hosting you. To reserve a special event, or if you would love a special getaway at the Country Inn, you can call us at 256-634-2018. we are back. My name is Donna, and I am your host of The Edge on IC Radio, your source for news and entertainment. You can also find us on television, channel 182 on Charter Communications and Abundance Television, found on Roku, Apple TV, and Amazon Fire. Check out the podcast, netnewsnetwork.net. We're about to be on another I'm so excited about the growth and everything that's happening right now, but I'll be making an announcement pretty soon, in about a month, about another podcast we're going to be with as well. Alan Mendenhall is with me, and I'm always so excited to have Alan on the show with me. I would have him on every single day if he had the time for it. But we've been talking about a little bit about finances and that kind of thing. But let's talk just a little bit. And I know you've read Thomas Paine's Common Sense. And so there is a new party that's beginning to gain a little bit of momentum. And so I have their website up, and it's nolabels.org. How shouldn't we be open to new ideas, just to, if nothing else, just to do research and see if that's the person you want to kind of hang out with and tag with? What are your thoughts about that?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's anything that locks us into the two-party system. I think it's okay to have a little shakeup. You know, a lot of countries have many parties that vie for power, and they have coalition governments, and it forces different parties to coordinate with other parties and find compromise. And I don't think there's really a big problem to that. And maybe it's possible that some of the fracture that we have in America is due to the sort of the two-party system that we have. I don't know a lot about this No Labels. I know that they've received funding from Harlan Crow, who is the big conservative donor who has all the controversial ties to Justice Thomas, Clarence Thomas, that have been highlighted in the media, but that a lot of big Democrats are involved in this as well. I think Joe Lieberman is involved in some degree. Again, I don't know a whole lot about what they're doing, but it strikes me as that they're trying to be centrist, and they're trying to establish a centrist party. You know, I used to know a lot more about the Libertarian Party, which has been around since 1971 and never really made inroads. And I think it's sort of become the bane of many Republicans' existence because it typically pulls away votes from Republican politicians. And right now, in swing states in particular, when libertarians are on the ballot, that hurts Republicans. But I'm all for a shakeup. I think people ought to have as many options as they can. And a lot of people, this is maybe a controversial position, but a lot of people say, get out to vote. Everyone has to vote. Go out and vote. Well, there are a lot of countries that mandate voting, and those votes don't turn out very well. I tend to find in the countries with mandatory voting, the leadership is pretty bad. And so I like to tell people, you know what, as long as you're free not to, you can exercise your right not to vote. I mean, it's a protest thing. If you don't like any candidates, no one's going to force you. Do you get a sense of civic participation by voting? Yes. But is it unethical not to vote? No, I don't think so at all.
No, because too many times I was for neither one. And I would choose the lesser of the evils.
Yeah.
I always have to say, when Mitt Romney and Barack Obama, I was not a Mitt Romney fan. At first I was. The first debate, he just tore Obama to shreds. I mean, he just and then it was almost like he was told by someone, be easy on him, be easy. It was not the same. And after that, I was like, no, he doesn't have any fight in him. I thought he did.
Yeah, that was a bizarre. He got absolutely destroyed in that first debate. I remember it vividly. And then in the subsequent debates, I thought he got drummed too, but the media couldn't let that be the narrative. So, just because he sort of stood up and said things louder and said things with more authority, that somehow made him win the debate, even though the substance of what he said was not very good. But even, I didn't agree with a lot of the positions Romney took in that debate. He was talking about how, as a businessman, he loves regulations and, regulations help. And the reason
I was scratching my head at a lot of stuff he said.
He did. But the reason that was a strategic line in that context was because Obama wasn't prepared for that answer. Obama was prepared for the typical, Republican response, which is we need to get rid of all regulation, which I actually would agree with, but it was not what Obama was expecting. So he didn't know how to handle that in the debate. And Romney was doing that over and over in that first debate, which really caught Obama off guard. But it's funny that we're sitting here talking about that debate, but it's been over a decade, but I remember it so well.
Oh man, I got clobbered over the head when Papa Bush and Bill Clinton were running against each other, and I didn't like either one of them. I don't know. I felt Daddy Bush was a little bit more like the one, and he even mentioned it. He constantly talked about the one world, and I was just like, I don't know about that.
Yeah.
And then of course I didn't like Bill Clinton. So I voted for Ross Perot, and man, I got clamored by family members and everybody else. My mother, big Republican, my dad, big Democrat. So it was like they always canceled each other's vote out. But I couldn't get turned on by either one of them. I was just like, So Perot was my person.
Yeah, I don't think any third-party candidate has gained as much traction as Perot in a long time. If I recall correctly, he's in the post-war era, the from, let's just say 1950 on, he's gained the most votes of any sort of third party candidate. But it's funny. I remember in 2016 watching the Republican primaries, which this also seems like it just happened. I can't even believe it's been six years or whatever.
Wait till you're my age.
That's just unbelievable. But they were such a spectacle. It was like a Super Bowl, and they're confetti and fireworks and people are going up on the stage, and it was like watching the Super Bowl or like WWF wrestling or something, or WWE, whatever.
Yeah, you got it right there. Wrestling.
Yeah, it was like that. And I remember going into the office one day and thinking, I'm curious, what were the debates like? And I went and watched some of the old Bush-Clinton debates, exactly what you're talking about, as well as some previous debates from previous presidential elections. And they were so lame by comparison, but in a good way, in that, even the podium was just this like wooden podium, that had some of the wood chipping away. They didn't take all this time to make it flashy. They just all they wanted was something that the guys could put their papers on and hold their paper. It wasn't about the telegenic qualities. And the debates were much more substantive, and the debaters didn't speak over each other, and it wasn't sort of a contest where you're seeing who could be the bigger bully or who can do it. Like remember when Al Gore and George W. Bush debated, and Al Gore stood up. They were on those stools, and Al Gore stood up and walked over and wanted to show how much taller he was than Bush, and kind of got in his face. And Bush looked up and was like, "What's going on here?" It was a much more intellectually substantive experience.
You know what it reminded me of? It reminded me of both my granddads. So one granddad was Democrat, one granddad was a Republican, and I would see them. So we bought my grandparents' old farm place, and I remember sitting on this front porch here. I've been in politics since I was a kid, so they would sit on the front porch, but it was in a mild tone. And so my granddad Shears would ask my granddad Bearden, he would say, "Why are you a Republican?" And he would say, "Mr. Bearden." And they were both about the same age, and it always kind of floored me. It's like, why are they calling each other Mr. Bearden and Mr. Shears? You know how kids are. And so, well, Mr. Shears, the reason I am a Republican is, it was like nobody was fighting. They weren't saying curse words at each other. Nobody got mad and walked inside. None of that stuff was going on. So I got a good education on, back in that day, this was in the 60s and 70s, of how you could actually be on different sides and actually hold a civil conversation.
Yeah, that's an art that's been lost. I mean, just the ability to communicate, and everybody tends to enter into these sort of conversation transactions, as it were, with the goal to win. So actually, I shouldn't have called it a transaction. We should think of them maybe more as transactions, in which each side should seek to get something from the other side, and in terms of, we want this to be a legitimate exchange, rather than domination. It seems like everyone wants to enter into it, not in fact for conversation, but to seek to dominate, to win. And, I'm guilty as charged. I do this frequently too.
I do that with my relatives.
Yeah.
I'm like, are you insane? Can you believe Biden is doing a great? I mean, I don't go that far, but I'm thinking it. I'm thinking, how can you be so stupid as to think we're in a good economy right now? I do think it.
Yeah. And, I think, one thing that I had lunch, I guess it was lunch or breakfast. I can't remember which one it was, but fairly recent. It's been a few months with somebody who does not agree with me on most things. And we had breakfast and I just asked a lot of questions and he asked a lot of questions. So there was a little bit of rhetorical fencing going on, but it turns out that in explaining why I thought the way I did about certain things, he also agreed with me about the underlying problems and also about some of the proposed solutions. But what he thought my opinion of the underlying problems was completely wrong. And because he had been listening to his tribe and getting his media from his sources, he thought that, anybody that is on this side of things thinks this, X, Y, Z, and does it for these reasons because they hate poor people. They hate this. They hate that. And in fact, when I told him, well, I believe these because I think that the policies over here are incredibly destructive to poor people and racial minorities. And, they're marginalizing them and they're getting used. And this is disproportionately impacting people of color. And he's like, wait, well, that's not what everyone told me. That's not why everyone told me people believed in these ideas. Like, that's not why you believe. Like, no, that's why. That's why I support these policies. And in fact, the people that you think are the bad guys, I think your policies are making them empowered. Like, oh, mind blown, but it was a great experience. And I probably had my own sort of light bulbs go on as well. But it ended up being a very constructive lunch or breakfast, whatever it was. And, I feel as though I gained a friend. And I think the whole purpose of the lunch was sort of to figure out why do we each think the way we do. So.
Well, here's what. So I had an opportunity, and I call it an opportunity with someone, and they actually wanted to hear my point of view. But the problem is they'll start crossing their arms, and then they'll ask you a question like I got her this time. This is what they do. So this one guy said, okay, let me ask you what you would do if a gay person came into your church. And I said, nothing. Yeah. And that blew his mind. He said, I thought you hated gay people. And I said, why would I hate gay people? I said, you're being told that. It's all by design. It's all by design to keep us all divided so we're not speaking to each other.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, the age-old slogan is, you love the sinner, hate the sin, and that's the thing. But the other thing is, I don't
do anything if anybody gay, and I'm pretty sure that we've had some gay people. I don't do anything. I love them just like I love everybody else.
Yeah, well, and
I don't agree with it, but I still love. I do things from my understanding of the Bible. You can tell a white line; it's a sin too. I mean,
I was gonna say the sins aren't necessarily ranked in that way.
I don't think they're.
We all struggle with sin. We're all sinners. We're all horribly rotten to the core in many ways, and we're all in need of grace. And Jesus provides grace and saves us and forgives us for any of our sins, no matter what they are, no matter who you are, no matter what you've done. There is hope for redemption, and that is such a beautiful thing. Forgiveness is such a beautiful thing. You can always come to Christ and ask for forgiveness and be set free. And you have that clean slate. And that's just such a powerful thing.
It's beautiful. But I will say this about women. One of my friends asked me if an outfit made her look fat. And I couldn't lie. It did. And and I said, now, do you want my honest opinion? I said, you're asking me, right? She's still mad at me.
Oh, no, that's funny. That's
so
funny.
If I had said, no, honey, you look great, would I have been a friend? It's just, And she's not a big person at all. She's probably smaller than I am, but it's just the style of the outfit made her look bigger. I just said, and I said, now you just wait a minute. I would be mad at you if you didn't tell me the truth.
That is so funny.
So you do have to be careful with women in a lot of cases. Usually when a woman asks me something, I go, what do you think? So I say now, I do not put my thought into that. And you should know that you're married. So.
Well, yeah, and it's funny. I get asked that sometimes, and I always think my wife looks wonderful in like everything she wears, and I tell her that, and then she doesn't believe me. She's like, no, no, I really do. I think it looks great. But the hard questions to me are, what do you think about this sweater? What do you think about it? And it's just the abstract. I'm like, I honestly don't really have an opinion. Like, I don't know. It's a white sweater. I guess it's fine. I mean, it looks like a blue sweater to me. I don't know the difference. Like, I just don't know. I have zero opinion about it.
Here's what my grandparents, who had been married 67 years, by the way, this is the secret. So they'd been married 67 years when my granddad passed away. And did they argue? Yeah, just not in front of us. Yeah. So they had a difference of opinion. And my granddad would say, that's what makes life nice. If Sybil was just like me, it wouldn't work.
Yeah,
because I said that all the time. So my granddad one time, and Phil used this on Brad when my son got married. So Phil was talking to Brad, and he said, now, son, this is the best thing to do. She's going to ask you from time to time if an outfit makes her look fat. Here's how you answer it. Yeah. This is the secret. What you do is say, I really like that red dress you had on the other day. That's the best one.
Oh, that's so
That's
funny.
the best way to handle it, because she's setting you up. She's wanting to argue. And then I looked at him and I said, wait a minute. The other day I asked you if a dress made me look fat, and you said you liked the black one I had on the other day. He said, see, we didn't get into an argument. There you go. You didn't get mad. But I think the whole thing is it's like everybody's divided, and really either one of these parties, do they really care? Really? When it comes to the core beliefs of any of these parties, Democrat, Republican, or whatever they are, they have core beliefs, but do they really care that Joe Blow down the street can't feed his family? I mean, do they really?
Yeah, I think a lot of these politicians, it's in particular, are in it for the glory. They're in it for the fame. They're in it for the attention. I see a lot of career politicians in particular.
Career ones
are really problematic, because you think about it. What are they doing to add value to society? If you're out running a business or inventing something or being an entrepreneur, you are adding value to other people's lives in a very clear way. You're producing goods and services at lower prices for more efficiently and effectively, and that's contributing to the well-being of everybody in society. That's making everybody's life better. But as a politician, all you're really doing is stirring up trouble and spending public money, and it really is problematic. I'm all for term limits, and we really need to start sort of disempowering these politicians and the federal government writ large, and not just in our country, but everywhere, because we're getting into an incredibly strange period when it comes to the powers and that the governments enjoy. It's just unhealthy. So decentralization, diffusion of power. I'm afraid of. We were talking the other day, Donna, about the central bank digital currency, and that kind of stuff scares me. I'm not even with regular private commercial banks, I'm not even comfortable personally with fractional reserve banking. I'm very Jeffersonian, so I just trust these massive sort of mercantilistic Hamiltonian sort of banking schemes, and the virtual currency, cryptocurrency in the form of a CBDC.
It makes me nervous.
It makes me very nervous, both from a perspective of debanking and the phenomenon.
Yeah, but just one of my shows could cause them to close down my entire account.
Exactly.
Just one show.
Yeah.
I mean, I could
That's
tick
right.
somebody off in the banking world and they're going to close her account.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we'd be following the lead of such, stellar governance as Venezuela, like
Right.
China, like, why this is sort of,
But I think we're so convenient. I know my grandparents been married 67 years. This is another thing my grandmother used to say. She would say, you know what is so silly is people buying cake mixes. And I would say, well, I use cake mix. And she'd say, why are you using a cake mix? And I'd say, for the convenience. And she would say, you still have to add eggs and you still have to put butter or you have to put something else in it. You're still mixing it. Why not just measure out a cup of flour or whatever? Why don't you just do that?
Yeah.
And I would say, you know what, you're right. It really isn't that difficult to scratch. She'd say, you've been sold. You've been sold a bill of goods that is convenient, and it's not.
One interesting thing to think about, Donna, is the Constitution permits the states to have their own species, so some type of metal-backed currency. It would be interesting to see if different state treasurers, for instance, were to start coordinating on some sort of reserve, some sort of gold reserve, and creating some alternative currencies to the federal currency in order to subvert this attempt to get to a central bank digital currency. I mean, some place like Utah, where the Mormon Church has a lot of gold reserves, and and they were to coordinate. Utah's a pretty red state for the most part, but if they were to coordinate with Texas and Florida or whatever, and you could see some really interesting shakeups in the monetary policy of our entire country if things like that started happening.
So I need to know what you think about this. 2 minutes left in this segment.
Okay.
So, let's say Trump comes in, he's president. He has turned things around, and when he was president before, he pretty much turned things around. We had a good economy. Nobody was wanting to go into war with us, what have you. So let's say he comes back in. How long is it going to take him to turn things around from what they are right now?
Oh, it's so hard to say because we're at this point, it sounds like the Federal Reserve is about to raise interest rates again. We had trouble, serious inflationary pressures. It's tough to just get the economy rip roaring again. And, the Biden administration has grown the administrative state to a shocking degree, and it's hard to just undo those kinds of things. Now, what I find positive is you've got candidates like Vivek Ramaswamy. He's talking about, let's dismantle the Department of Education. Let's dismantle this department. And those are actually ideas that are on the table now. Whereas if you had said that a decade ago, people would have said, that's outrageous. You can't do, whatever. But as the left has gotten way, 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 way left, and now it's opened the door for the right to say, like, look, this is what you're going to get from our side. This is pretty much a mainstream idea among our type. And I don't know. We'll see, Donna. I am not good at predictions like that. So
I'm going to make one. I think he'll turn it around just like he did the first time in. I mean, even though he was fighting being impeached almost from day one, he still managed to do it. I think the dude thrives off of it. I really do. I think think about this. Okay, I've had nothing on the scale he's had, but on a smaller scale, I've had so many competitors try to push me down. And the more they do it, the more I get, the more I grow. I mean, it actually helps me because it's putting information out there. I'm not having to go say anything. I mean, they're doing it for me. And I think that's how he wins.
Well, and
the attention is got about 15 seconds.
I was going to say he didn't create COVID, and COVID is what sent the economy in the wrong direction. And obviously, he didn't breathe COVID into existence. So
I think so too. AlanMendenhall.com. Make sure you go in. I love his books. You know how avid reader I am. And I've read several of them over and over. And so you won't be able to put them down. So, Alan, thank you again so much for being on the show. And thanks you for watching.
Thanks for having me.
You have been at this for 12 years. Why are you doing it? Because God's children are not for sale.
Rated PG-13.
The Hatter Cafe and Country Inn is nestled in the northeast corner of Alabama the Beautiful in the delightful town of Mentone. We're located on top of scenic Lookout Mountain near Little River and DeSoto State Park and located only 5 minutes from shopping and restaurants. There is also a nearby community walking path and golf course. We welcome everyone through the doors and we are committed to outstanding service for all guests. At the Hatter Cafe and Country Inn, we invite people from all walks of life to come and get away from it all, enjoy the open spaces, treetop views, fresh, clean air, and experience Southern hospitality at its finest. We look forward to hosting you. To reserve a special event, or if you would love a special getaway at the Country Inn, you can call us at 256-634-2018.
Are you ready?
We all wonder what tomorrow will bring, but the future lays itself at the feet of the prepared and surrenders to the will of the persistent. It's not easy, but today shapes you so you can shape tomorrow. With Northeast Alabama Community College, when the future asks if you're ready, you can answer.
Yes.
Begin your future at Northeast Alabama Community College.
The only place I buy my beef is Lone Tree Ranch in Collinsville, Alabama. Their cattle is born and raised on their ranch, grass and grain fed, and you can feel confident when you serve your family and friends because their beef is all natural and no antibiotics or hormones are added. You can buy whole beef or perhaps go in with family or friends and buy half. Their customer service is number one as they take care of the delivery to their local processor and can deliver to your home for a small added fee. They also offer herd replacement heifers. I always call Lone Tree Ranch in Collinsville, Alabama for my beef specialty recipes and cookouts, and you can too. Food shortages are increasing, so buy local by calling 256-523-6462. That's 256-523-6462.
Wow, it's so soft and smooth.
It's cool to the touch. How did you do that?
Well, we took MyPillow's patented fill and combined it with this new technology that we didn't have back then when I invented MyPillow to bring you the best pillow in history, MyPillow 2.0. Because of all of you, MyPillow 2.0 has been a huge success, and now we're bringing you our best-selling Go Anywhere MyPillows with the same temperature-regulating technology. Made with my patented adjustable fill and brand new cooling fabric, they're truly the next generation of MyPillow. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to save over 60% on our MyPillow 2.0 4-pack special. You'll get 2 MyPillows and 2 Go Anywhere MyPillows, regular $259.92, now only $99.98. King size just $10 more. This is a limited time offer, so please order now.
At Lamone's Mexican Restaurant, located in Henniger, Alabama, and voted Best Mexican Restaurant of DeKalb County, Alabama 2020, we're here to serve you with authentic Mexican cuisine. Order easily online by going to lamonsmex.com or call 256-657-3999 to place your order. We're open Sunday through Thursday, 11 a.m. to 9 p.m. and Friday and Saturday, 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. Whether you're celebrating a cozy date night for two or a celebration for a crowd, at Lamone's you'll love our atmosphere and friendly servers. Thank you for dining with Lamone's Mexican Restaurant.